TV trash, and hey, it's 2013! The world didn't come to an end! So we can sit here and laugh at all the morons who didn't know a damn thing about Mayan culture, or we could celebrate the new year and be happy to be here. Look, I know I've said a lot of caustic things on this show, but the truth is I love television. Like many other reviewers do, it's by pointing out the bad stuff that will hopefully direct you to what's good out there. And to prove to you that I don't hate everything, I'm spending our first episode of the year showing you some of my favorite moments from my years of TV watching. These aren't whole series or even individual episodes, but specific scenes from shows that I could watch over and over and never get tired of. I love all of these scenes so much that I can't even rank them in a standard top 10 countdown, so let's get started by showing we can take the good with the bad. Presented in chronological order from their original air date, these are my 10 favorite television moments. Number 1, Mary cries in her beer from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. This show gave us a ton of memorable moments. Of course, Chuckles Bites the Dust is one of the most memorable episodes in TV history, and I wanted to put on this list one of Lou and Ted's infamous confrontations, but I just couldn't pick one. But the final scene from the episode The Shame of the Cities is just one of the most hilarious I've seen. Lewis spent the entire episode trying to do an expose on a local congressman, only to find out there's absolutely no dirt to expose on him. But Mary convinces him to do the documentary anyway, suggesting that people might actually like to see good news on the air for once. The results are disastrous. And Mary, well, she doesn't take it well. It is a bit harsher in hindsight to watch this, knowing the rumors that Mary Tyler Moore has struggled with alcoholism in addition to her diabetes, but this ramblings of drunk Mary is just so laughable that I can't help but watch it over and over again. Number 2, Mork versus the Necrons. Yeah, do I need to fully explain why this was on the list? Please note, I was a preteen when I first started watching Mork and Mindy, so yeah, things were kinda happening then. Then came this episode when Orson declares to Mork that the Orcon's arch enemies, the Necrons, are headed for Earth looking for Mork to obtain information on the planet Earth. And it turns out the leader of the Necron invaders is played by Raquel Welch. What follows after Mork gets captured by the Necrons is some of the most unsubtle innuendo comedy that will make you wonder how in the heck this got approved on the air in the late 1970s. Mork and the Necrons. I'll be in my bunk. Number 3, Together Again from Here Comes Garfield. At the risk of aggravating my colleague, the comic strip critic, I absolutely love Garfield. I was reading his strips in books when I was 3, and whenever one of the specials came on prime time, it was must-see TV. But of all those, the original remains the best. It really showed Garfield's heart, what he was willing to do to get Odie rescued from the pound, and the sorrow he felt knowing that Odie would be euthanized if he can't do anything. This is reflected in the absolutely gut-wrenching So Long Old Friend by Desiree Goyette. I still can't watch this without fighting back the tears. But it's all a setup to a rescue scene whose music is conducted brilliantly, building up more and more until finally reaching this climax. The show's storyline is just one of the most well-crafted I've ever seen for an animated 30-minute special from the 1980s. And this song just reflects a total sense of accomplishment and overcoming the odds and celebration. It's just something you want to pump your fist at the minute the music starts. And it takes me back to my childhood every time I pop the DVD in and watch this thing once more. Number 4, The Kids Won't Leave from the Cosby Show. Here's another sitcom that gave us lots of memorable moments throughout its run. Of course, we all remember that one from the first season where Cliff teaches Theo economics using Monopoly money. But the one that sticks out for me is the 5th season premiere, Together Again and Again. It starts when Theo is ready to head off to NYU, but discovers he forgot to send in his dorm fee deposit, so he has no place to stay on campus and has to stay at home. To make matters worse, Denise reveals to the parents that she's not going back to Hillman College. And this is going on while Sandra and Elvin have both dropped out of grad school to run a wilderness store while living in a ranch-shack apartment. Cliff's exhausted speech near the end determining why all their kids are doing this is pure gold. This is one of my favorites because it started my favorite times of the show, where the kids are growing up, but for one reason or another, can't stop living in the Huxtable home, and it keeps driving Cliff crazy. And this particular scene also really sticks with me, because while Bill Cosby is known for his over-the-top comedy, this shows how he can tone it down and do deadpan just as well. It really shows how Cosby is one of the most versatile, best comedians of my lifetime. The Cosby kids kept coming back, and so would I for this episode.
I'm old. And you're old too, Claire.
Number 5, the Super Princess from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. The episode The Trojan Koopa is one of the countless We Gotta Rescue the Princess stories, this one using a parody of the legendary Trojan horse. Mario and Luigi and Toad sneak into Koopa's fort with a giant wooden model of Koopa, and knowing his ego, I don't question why Koopa wouldn't ask where it came from first. But the catch here is their plan fails. They get caught and cornered by Koopa's troops, so how can they possibly get out of this? I mean, Princess Toadstool never actually does anything in times like this. It's just a great twist that I don't think anyone saw coming when they first watched this show, and I believe it's the only one of the entire Super Mario Super Show series where the princess actually gets superpowers. She did become more active in the Super Mario 3 cartoon and some later installments, but this was the first indication where we truly saw that Princess Toadstool could be more than just a pretty face that always needed rescuing. Number 6, Topanga Gets a Makeover from Boy Meets World. To me, the premise of the episode Hair Today, Goon Tomorrow was kind of weak. I get that they were going for a whole being comfortable with who you are plot, but I just find it hard to believe that Topanga would become such a diva from getting her hair and makeup done at a salon. However, that can't take away from the hilarity of this scene when Topanga first emerges in front of Corey and Sean. I guess there's supposed to be irony in this scene since we don't actually see Topanga looking all that different, but seeing the normally cool and collected Sean just completely lose it is just absolutely enjoyable. Of course, he's still Corey's friend in the end. Number 7, Zena discovers she's pregnant. I still maintain that the overall story arc of Xena Warrior Princess's 5th season was one of the most poorly executed storylines I can recall. There was just so much more potential to this thing that the way it ended looked hackneyed. Still, it's almost all worth it for this one very brief scene from the episode Animal Attraction. Xena and Gabrielle are still recovering from that whole coming back from the dead thing, and then Xena ends up having to see a doctor, giving her a pretty surprising diagnosis. It's just the hilarity of using such a drawn-out, suggestive way of saying, "No guy's boinked me in years, I can't be knocked up!" Sadly, we know the ultimate resolution wasn't really fulfilling, but at least this gave us one bit of classic Xena humor that was sorely lacking at the time. Number 8. Buffy taunts Spike. This is one of the big reasons I just didn't find myself disliking the 4th season of Buffy like so many did. The early episodes that had Spike discovering and dealing with his neutered state were just hilarious to me, especially after he gave in and went to Buffy and the Scooby Gang for help. Naturally, Buffy can't help but take advantage of the fact that the vampire who tormented her so many times is now powerless against her. But what she did in the episode Something Blue bordered on an 8th Amendment violation and was plain hilarious. You know, seeing these two go after each other like Dave and Maddie, it's almost like we should have expected that they would get together in later seasons. Alright, put the torches and pitchforks down, it was just a suggestion! Buffy against Spike. Luckily the Buffster wasn't at Guantanamo. Number 9, the 10th Doctor's emergence. Now, I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, but I have seen some episodes from the revived series, and one that stands out to me is the Christmas Invasion that opened its 2nd season, which was the first full season with David Tennant as the Doctor. So it seems the Doctor is struggling to adapt to his new form, making him completely bonkers. To make matters worse, the energy he's giving off has apparently drawn a hostile alien race that uses information they got from a probe to mind control everyone with A-positive blood and take control of London. With the Doctor completely out of it, it looks like Rose and the humans are left on their own. But it turns out all he needed was some of Mama Tyler's hot tea, which leads to...
Did you miss me?
Now, I know there are some reviewers out there, one in particular, who seem to really hate David Tennant's portrayal as the Doctor. But given that said reviewer is, well, evil, I stand by my own opinion that I enjoyed Tennant's witty banter as the Doctor. Does that mean I have no chance of ever being a true Whovian? Maybe, but it won't stop me from enjoying this scene. And last, but definitely not least on this list, the Girls Hard Rock mashup from Glee. You can say what you want about this show in general, but this scene to me is just every level of awesome. In the episode Never Been Kissed, Will schedules another boys versus girls mashup competition, but Kurt complains that there's no challenge, leading Will to change it up a bit, making each team go after songs that are primarily done by the opposite gender. The guys do a pretty impressive performance at episode's end with an a cappella rendition of Stop in the Name of Love, mainly to cheer up their depressed football coach. But I'm sorry, it can't possibly top this. This just perfectly reflects the brashness and all-out insanity that caused me to enjoy the second season much more than the first. Whatever directions the show may have taken in subsequent seasons, and I do plan to get back to that one day on this show eventually, this to me was when the show was at its apex. And that's one of the big reasons why I felt I had to find a way to make this end my list of my favorite television moments. So hopefully these have been some good examples of some of the memorable stuff out there in TV history. And who knows, over this next year, maybe we might get some other examples of good, memorable TV moments.
A diagonal cannot be at a right angle to one of the sides.
That's right. It can only be at the wrong angle.
Aww.